It's dead, Jim. The remains, stripped of every edible morsel and ready for the stockpot. This operation might require 2 pots, because these are the 2 biggest ones I own. This one in particular, a classic. My old Miromatic pressure cooker that I got, I think, where is it? In '65 when I moved off campus. It has all of its original parts. It's been through hell and it still works like the day it was brand new. And of course, since I keep everything, this is its original owner's manual. Note the copyright date. So per a Hawaiian recipe that Beth sent me, I'm browning everything first, which makes perfect sense, and I've never even thought of it before. I don't know why. As if this isn't the way that you bring out every bit of flavor that's in it, which is what you're trying to do. So once it's all browned, it turns out that it all actually does fit in the pressure cooker. Just barely, but barely is good enough. So the next thing we got to do, deglaze this pan, because this has got a lot of good stuff in it. Get all this off the bottom. Pour it over here into the other, look up here, into this pan. Then you fill it the rest of the way up with water. And don't ever overfill a pressure cooker unless you know what you're doing, because you'll be picking the safety fuse out of your ceiling. Of course, this one is overfilled. And in theory, I know what I'm doing. We'll see. I'm adding about a tablespoon of salt, some arbitrary amount of pepper, about that much. I threw in some grated ginger, added some extra celery pieces, and now we cover it up. And I'm going to set it to 10 pounds, medium pressure, which rather than making it cook faster, I'm using to make it force out more of the good stuff from all the garbage, which actually does work. Now we'll bring it up to a boil, let it pressurize, and I'll be back. Alrighty, as it comes up to pressure, starts to make the little thingy dance. It's time to start easing the temperature of the heat back down to whatever it takes to have it jiggle just a little bit about every minute or so. You'll wind up on a pretty low heat, really. You don't want to overboil it, because you'll clog that little vent and you'll blow that little safety plug and it'll punch a hole right in your range with it. That's the original. So far, in what, 46 years, I've managed to avoid it. Let's hope this isn't the first. And once it's stabilized, we'll leave it for about an hour and come back and depressurize it and take a look. Probably let it go for another hour, but we might add some seasonings to it. We'll see. Okie dokie. Time to bring it over here and take a look. Oh, leave me alone. It's been going for an hour, so it's time to see where we are. And the quickest way to depressurize it is to run cold water over it. Do not ever try to take the top off of one of these until it's all the way down to normal atmospheric pressure, because you will probably hurt yourself. This takes a few minutes. Getting there. And it's time. Yummy. No, that stock is starting to look nice. I'm going to stir it up, mess it around a little, give it a taste test, and then we'll probably put it back on for another hour. Yum. Well, let's pass the taste test. I'm adding in a few bay leaves, maybe a good healthy teaspoon or so of basil, about the same amount of sage, a sprinkling of nutmeg, which will enhance this enormously, and a couple of healthy cloves of garlic, just coarsely chopped. Now we'll probably ought to stir those in a little. Then we put the top back on. And carry it back over to the stove. Let it go for another hour, which ought to just about do it. Meanwhile, waiting for the stockpot, supper time came around, and not being one for going hungry, I raided the leftovers. Add a nice salad, and I call that dinner. We'll check back on the stock later. So the pot's been going for 2 hours, under pressure. Let it cool down naturally. So now let's see what's inside it. After this much time, there is nothing left in that carcass. All of it is now in the stock. So the next project is to get all the garbage out of here and look at what's left. What does it taste like? Oh yes! Now, after running it through a colander and then through a screen, this is kind of what we have left. Plate full of bones, a bag full of goo, and a bowl of probably some of the best stock imaginable. I will refrigerate this, get it chilled, and then pull off the layer of grease to purify it, and then it's ready to use. This actually can be diluted like 2 to 1 easily to make a really hearty broth. Yummy stuff. Now I've let it chill overnight in the fridge, and I have something like a big vat of Jell-O with a layer of solidified grease on top. So the final touch is to scrape that grease off, which takes a little doing, but not a major deal. And you see what I'm exposing underneath it is the bowl of Jell-O. Now when we finish this, we'll have the finished stock, and we can warm it up or whatever we want, pour it into measured amounts into freezer containers, freeze it, and use it as we need it. I have gone so far as to freeze it in ice cube trays. Then bag the cubes and just take out however many I want. Let me go ahead and continue this and I'll be back. Okay, don't worry yourself if you have little minimal amounts left on top. When you warm it up to start to measure it out, that's going to be like parts per million. And what's underneath it, as you can see, is about the most perfect stock. It's like an aspic. And this has more flavor and more function as a stock than anything you have ever used, unless you've done it this way. Give it a shot and have fun with it. Turkey flavored Jell-O.